Right, well, welcome to a Podful of Saints on Thursday, the 18th of August 2022, with myself, David Tavener, over there, the man pulling the strings, of course, Jake Ellacott.
Pulling the strings, are you sure about that's very loose? Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone.
And over the other side of St Albans, the man pulling the pints, Lee Wood.
Always pulling the pints. You're welcome in my pub any day of the week, Dave.
Yeah, did you do J2O, Lee? We've got a lot to talk about. We've got 2 home games in the last few days, and how many goals we got? Oh, okay. Well, that won't take long. But we've got these 2 games to look at. Then we're going to also look at the Alex Lankshear transfer. Anything else of interest that is thrown up? Right, last Saturday at Clarence Park, visitors, Oxford City, they won 1-0, and you couldn't help feeling that one shot on target was going to decide that game. What did it look like from behind the goal?
It wasn't that much better, was it? Speaking of throwing up, it was a pretty sort of torrid affair, wasn't it? You know, I think it does highlight, and I'm trying to rein it in not to be so negative, but it didn't fill me with a great deal of confidence. I think it shows very much where we are as a side in terms of we're competitive to a degree, high energy. I don't believe you can really sort of criticise the application of the players, but I'll tell you what, by God, fellas, do we lack some quality in key areas around the pitch.
You go along with that, Greg?
Yeah, I echo that. I think if you remember to the Oxford City game at Clarence Park last season, I think we drew, didn't we, in the end? Was it a Joe Chifano penalty? But that game, especially that second half, we were really, really energetic going forward, created lots of chances. And I know the weather was a factor on Saturday, and that's totally fair enough, but it was a factor for both teams. And Oxford came out with all 3 points. And at the end of the day, you've got to perform. And as Lee says, I think going forward, definitely some real concerns over the lack of a spark, really, I'd say. Sort of anyone looking creative at all. If we're talking about just the Oxford game, I think that was a definite issue there. And I think a real concern. And when you've put, a strike on a 2-year contract, for decent money, you've got to be someone there putting the balls into the box for him, and there just wasn't at all.
I think he looked increasingly frustrated because there's just nothing being created around him, as you said. But also make a query to a makeup of a side last Saturday at Chelmsford. Mackay Townsend West made his debut at left back, looked really good. Then, I don't know what we did Saturday. Was he a wing back? Was he left midfield? I mean, he looked totally lost, and of course he got substituted in the end. That was a strange one. And I thought Tafari Moore did okay at Chelmsford. He's outside straight away, so Devante Stanley can come in. Stanley's probably a better player anyway, so you can sort of understand that. But you just think, and when Moore came on, he went to a more forward position than you'd expect. You just think, we're trying to put players into positions where they're not accustomed. And here we are in the second game of the season. We don't seem to know our lineup.
Yeah. I think we mentioned it, didn't we, in the last one, of trying to almost fit, square pegs into round holes. And I thought we saw that on Saturday. That formation to start with, 3-5-2 with the wing backs just didn't really work. And I thought even Devante, he didn't look particularly natural, I didn't think there. His first game starting in a long time, really. And it just didn't work for me. And the shape wasn't right, the midfield as well. We talk about the final third. I think the midfield is a huge issue that is part of that. There's no one creative in there at all at the minute. But yeah, it just felt like, do we actually know what we're doing really to start the season? And I think the worrying thing for me is Oxford didn't look like an exciting side either, did they? At least last season, they got in the playoffs. When we played them, they looked like a side that could cause trouble. But they didn't look spectacular either. So yeah, a lot of concerns from Saturday. And as you say, Dave, the formation just didn't work for me.
I think you've sorry, Lee, go on. I was just going to say, I think Jake sort of hit it on the head there, really. I think Ian's very much thinking on his feet at the minute in terms of personnel and indeed formation. What sort of team do we want to be? Are we high octane, pressing high? Are we playing 5 at the back? Are we utilising the central runners? Are we playing Jeffers up on his own? Do we play Joe Neal behind him? Do we have Banton out on the... I mean, there's so many permutations of what we've seen already. I mean, only 3 games in. I'm not entirely sure this club have got an identity crisis in terms of the brand of football that they want to play and indeed who's going to implement it.
you made an interesting point about Oxford, Jake. You weren't overly impressed with them. I was expecting more as well. I chatted to their video guy before the game. I got to know him in recent years, and he thought they're probably stronger than last season in as much as they're physically a stronger side. I think you've got a lot more to come from them yet, and they could be one of the sides up there. But as for us, you can't say that about us, unfortunately. You're struggling to see where the improvement's coming from.
No, absolutely. I think, the only fault with that formation was Ian trying to sort of battle something tactically, maybe the two up front for Oxford, potentially something there, but just didn't work, did it? And, Oxford haven't had a great start. I'm sure they will come good. They've got a good team. They've got good players. They've kept a lot of that squad from last season and have improved it. But yeah, after walking away from the game on Saturday, it was, first home game. It was just really disappointing, wasn't it? There just seemed to be I think that final third, just a real lack of spark, lack of creativity.
It was a good goal though, mate, wasn't it? They had to beat us in the end.
Great finish. Great finish.
Strike.
And I think defensively, I don't know if we actually did much wrong really in the game, but it's all good, keeping clean sheets not keeping clean sheets, losing by one goal. But if you can't score, then you've got problems.
It was a great strike by Josh Ashby, and he deserves to win any game. But didn't it show, if you have a shot from outside the box, what can happen? And that's one of our problems. Second half of last season, we've seen it again already this year. We'd rather go across the pitch, back across the other way. Somebody take responsibility and have a poke, or at least get a crossing if you're not going to have a shot. But we seem very reluctant to it. In fact, Josh Ashby, he was rewarded by appearing in the non-league paper Team of the Week for that. And his club was given us St Albans City. So that's 3 points in the bag for us.
Before you say it, Dave, I didn't put him as St Albans before you ever go at me.
The NLP can screw it up on their own, Jake. They don't need your help. Right, after that game, we had another one down the park on Tuesday. A bit cooler, rained throughout the second half, which was most welcome. Pitch still looking pretty good when you think of some of the ones we've seen already this season. Chelmsford, not great. Harpenden, but struggling. Anyway, Hungerford Town down the park. They hadn't got a goal, hadn't got a point. They now have a point. We still don't have a goal. But from my point of view, I thought that was almost an enjoyable game because we showed intent. It didn't bring anything in the end, but we did show intent, and that's a good starting point.
Much better. Much, much, much better. As you say, mate, the intensity was there, and the movement was there. But again, we're just lacking, I think if players lack confidence, or I don't know what it is, they just sort of try to beat that extra man. But I thought Banton was superb before he got shifted out of position halfway through the first half. Devontae Stanley looked good as well. I thought Jeffers looked a bit more hungrier. He was sort of had to go searching for the ball a little bit more based on his performance on Saturday. But that said, again, much livelier, much, much brighter. That said, I thought Hungerford were extremely good value for their point. They knew what they were doing. They knew their setup. They knew their model, and they stuck to it effectively well.
I thought their defending was superb. A number of shots they blocked, and they just kept us closed down outside the edge of the box. So we didn't have that spark to break it down. I think we had only 3 shots on target in the end, but it felt like more. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I agree. I thought going forward it was a lot better, but still, I think the final ball though still struggling a little bit. And Dave, you mentioned the sort of not willing to shoot. I think why not shoot a bit more, lads? We had a couple in the first half that keep us well saved, but have some more. I mean, you're getting into good positions and just not, hitting a strike. You just got to
Jake. Maybe if everyone was on the same sort of goal bonus that Jeffers was on, maybe they'd have a little bit more of a pot, mate. So then we'll go from there, buddy. But I think it all does boil down to the quality of players, but also their confidence as well.
Yeah, I think confidence is a huge thing. I think it's easy to forget that most of this squad saw that run in last season where, I mean, how many wins did we get? It was awful. And they've needed a pick-up in the summer. Pre-season results weren't amazing. It was a struggle at times. And we've come into the season, and I think we just need that lucky win, don't we, to really start, kick going and get that confidence. But, yeah, I think, as you say, Dave, Hungerford, fair play, brilliant defending, especially the number 25, the really big lad Thought he did brilliantly. They looked well. They just battled though, didn't they? They battled for a point, worked really hard, and fair play to them. They got that. But yeah, I think it was interesting. Quite a few supporters behind the goal, especially second half, just starting to get a little bit annoyed with the final ball and the unwillingness to shoot, etc. So it's coming quite early already. A little bit of pressure from the terraces, but the lads have got to step up, and they've got to try and get 3 points on the board sooner rather than later.
You mentioned something about so many of those players were involved in that run last season. When you go back to Saturday's game, I think 9 of that side were playing last season. One of them was a new signing, Cheshunt, and one was, I wouldn't say a panic loan signing in the week before the start of the season. But that was pretty much that side from last season. And the run is shocking. We are now 5 games without a win, 2 wins in 17, 10 points from 17 games, not scored in 10 of the last 22 games, not scored in 5 of the last 7 games. And so when you see that lineup and only one of the new signings there, what does that say about the signings we made in the summer?
It means we haven't learned from our mistakes, obviously. I'm not going to read too much into what happened to the latter end of last season because I think that doesn't help anybody. But what I would say is 2 points out of a possible 9 against not going to be the best teams in the league, let's put it fairly. It's a concern. It's not being overly negative, but absolutely, my God, it is a concern. And it's just horses for courses, fellas. We're doing the same mundane stuff. We're going across the ball. We're trying to spread teams. We're trying to open them up, cut inside, and then pick that final pass in the middle. But you're only playing one up front. So if it doesn't work, Jeffries is going to be outnumbered automatically anyway. I don't know what we're doing, seriously. But then again, I don't really know if the team know what they're doing because they like to stretch and they try to play high intensity and it's just not working. And I don't know whether we got an effective plan B. Let's put it that way.
Well, Tuesday we say was more encouraging. We showed the attacking intent which we felt we were lacking first couple of games. And I know you would dismiss the end of last season, Lee, but that as well. So maybe that is the message that's coming across now. Come on, we've got to get at teams rather than trying to pinch games, which is the way we've been playing.
Yeah, I think what you saw Tuesday night actually was the positives of having 2 wingers in the wide areas. Zane Banton on one side, Liam Soul on the other. I know Zane sort of went a bit central at times, which he wasn't as effective there, I didn't think. But Liam Soul, arguably probably one of his best performances for the Saints, I thought. First half wasn't spectacular, but second half, once Hungerford started to tire, he created a lot of problems. He put in some dangerous-looking crosses, actually. There was no one there to put them away. But I thought the wide players in their natural positions actually worked well. And we spoke in the summer, didn't we, that maybe the squad is short of a winger or two. And I thought we saw that on Tuesday, the positives of get some actual wide players out there running at defenders. And it can work really well. And I thought that was really quite effective. And also the great thing about the right as well was behind Liam Soul, you had Devontae Stanley banging on behind him as well. He provided that cover support, but he could also cross as well. So, yeah, I thought that was a positive from Tuesday. Hopefully Liam can take a bit of confidence from that along with Zane as well. But yeah, I think, going forward, better signs. But interestingly, I spoke to a couple of newer supporters yesterday evening who have only been going down to City for, well, I think since the start of last season. And it's interesting hearing from them actually that they were a bit sceptical about the start of the season. They were talking about they're a bit worried. They said we haven't seen the Saints for long, but you can see almost that the side hasn't really been improved from last season and it's struggling. So I think if they're picking it up, I think, most regular fans will be a bit worried as well.
Liam Soul, we haven't been his biggest fans, but I was starting Saturday. Definitely starting.
Absolutely.
I would, because the thing is, if you don't, as Jake said, the bar was quite low anyway to start with, but Tuesday was one of his better games. So you've got to give him time. There's no point doing this thing that Ian often does with fringe players, where he plays them for one game and then pulls them out for 3 or 4. You're not going to get continuity and consistency by doing that. One thing I would say, Jake, as regards to your effort about the shape and stuff, mate, is that I don't think it helped the fact that Townsend West went off relatively early. And we had to sort of, rejiggle the side about a little bit and almost to a certain degree the formation. So that's when we were on top as well. And we were looking promising going forward. So the injury to him didn't help.
Well, he wasn't the only one, was he? Mitchell Weiss, whatever. Sorry, Mitch. Yeah. His calf flared up again. early in the second half. Joy McKenna as well. And Monash Sandir, he was doing a commentary the other night, or Saturday, whenever it was the other night. We've got a thin squad. There's not a lot of depth in it. We can't afford to be losing these players. I don't know how many of them are going to be available on Saturday.
No, I mean, if you include Romeo, that's 5, is it now, on the injured list potentially for Saturday? And this early in the season, it's not what you want to see at all, is it? It's really concerning. And I know Ian, in some of his sort of post-match and pre-match interviews, which pre-match interviews really good addition, I think, this season. He's talked about the squad depth being quite good in his opinion. But once you take 5 players out of that, you're really struggling already. You're down to 15, really, really struggling. So, yeah, I think Lee's spot on that those changes really didn't help. Hopefully Mackay West, I think out of all of them, hopefully he's not too badly because, he's one bright spark to start with. And I thought as Mitch as well, Mitch up front, him and Sean starting to look a bit better together, and to take him off at half time, the injury, it's a shame really. So, but yeah.
It was a bright spot, mate, but I tell you what, that was a shocking tackle that he went in for that he got injured on, wasn't it, really?
I mean, Mackay West, yeah.
That was, I love the endeavour, don't get me wrong, and I love a little bit of biting him in the middle of the park, but Christ, I mean, that was full throttle, blood and thunder tackle. And you know what? He was lucky to get away with that, if I'm honest. It was quite reckless.
Yeah.
I think after the friendlies, we were not overly optimistic for this season, but did you really think we'd have 1 goal and still not a win after 3 games against, Oxford's probably the best of those sides that we've played?
I thought we'd have 3 points on the board at least, looking at the games. I think last season we had a tough start against teams that were up there at the end of the season. So you can understand that. And also those games, we lost them in manners that were annoying, but, we were fighting right to the end and, late goals cost us. But these games, I think, just not quite creative enough against sides that haven't been amazing. And you got to get points on the board because, look at the games coming up and we'll talk about them. But there's tough games coming up against sides in and around us. The pressure is just creeping up slightly now.
3 games in?
Yeah. It felt like, because it was interesting on Tuesday, there's a little bit of discontent from behind the crowd, from behind the goal second half, actually, just as the final third just wasn't working. So,
mate, as you say, though, mate, because as you said there, it's not before the inner circle start bleating on about, it's the old school moaning and trying to get people into trouble. You're talking about new fans now are seeing that, and they are relaying their frustrations and their concerns because we've seen this happen and we know how it all pans out. It doesn't end well for us.
No.
Well, I ran through a load of stats earlier on. They're pretty damning, really. I'm in no rush to see Ian go. I enjoy his company and everything down there. But they are pretty damning statistics. So he's got to turn that round pretty quickly. But also the attendances, how they've dropped. We're 500 odd people down on our first 2 games compared to last season. You could say it's holidays. We had holidays this time last year as well. It's a worrying trend.
Yeah, but don't forget though, Dave. I think this year is probably the first year that quite a lot of people are going abroad or going for longer holidays as opposed to sort of, staying at home. August has always been rough in terms of attendances, and we know that the club count every single season ticket holder in the final attendance, which is what every club does. But the crowd was shocking on Saturday. It didn't look that much better before kickoff on Tuesday, but obviously it did fill up over the course of time. I wouldn't read too much into that, mate, if I'm honest. I think, forgive me,
because you got cost of living in there, and are people thinking, hold on, we got a year, 2 years, 3 years, this cost of living is really going to make life tough at home. Do I want to spend it on a side that is struggling and has been struggling for a long, long time?
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, of course it is, mate. But you're always going to get that. But I think what it is, there's a difference between, people always come down and watch us because it's St Albans City, and the club have now created this environment where it's appealing to those who aren't that invested in the longevity of the team, or indeed the history behind the team. So I think you have that. Let's see where we are if the results keep going. And B, once the school holidays are over and the kids are back at school, because don't forget that the schools get some free initiatives as well. There's always that. But I think the most important thing for the club to understand is that if they want people on the terraces, they've got to stop winning some bloody games.
It's quite simple, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah, but you know what, mate? There's some simple people, involved with running football clubs in general, and they just don't seem to apply logic at times.
Should we go for some good news?
Why
Alex
not?
Alex Lankshear signing for Blackpool. Excellent news.
Well, that was out of the blue, wasn't it?
Who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? Seriously,
certainly not us. I think
no.
we talked about it last week. How do we fit Alex into the team, and then suddenly signing for a championship club? So fair play to Alex. I think it'll be really good for him. Actually, I think it'll be brilliant for him to get the coaching he needs every single day, and I think he's got a chance to kick on. So that's brilliant. And fair play to the academy, product come through. Money for the club. It's what you want to see, isn't it? A local lad kicking on, representing St Albans on that level. And that's exactly what we want. So it's brilliant to see. It's a surprise, but I think there's only positives from it for me.
Yeah, definitely. Was it a 3-year contract or something, wasn't it?
Don't know the exact details, but I think it was a surprise because I didn't realise until a supporter tagged me in Blackpool's post, and I looked at it and it was like, is that actually Alex Lankshear from St Albans? Like, what? Because the St Albans Twitter account was a little bit slower than the Blackpool account, so yeah.
No, really?
Totally out of the blue. So, but yeah, really good. Dave, I don't know. I know there were some rumours about fees or anything, but we haven't heard anything really solid at all, have we? About how
nothing
much
official from the club, but what I've heard, and I'll say it's a pretty good source, 15,000, which I find absolutely fantastic because I thought it would be totally add-ons. Like when he breaks into the first team, you get so much after so many games, and then an add-on when he gets sold to Real Madrid. I thought it'd be along those lines. So if we have got that figure up front, that's a good piece of business.
It's great business. But also the fact of the matter is, I think he will benefit from being in that environment. You could see just how raw he was when he first came into the side, but his energy alone got him through some games. But also he's also a very highly skilled young man. And being surrounded by professionals on a day in, day out basis will only benefit him. I got a message from Saints legend Martin Gurney in the week, and he said that he thought he was impressed by Alex's performance against Forest Green, for example. He needed to be bulked up a little bit more, and he'd become a tremendous player. So it looks as though that the future is indeed bright for Alex.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Martin Gurney. Lee, week before last, I spent an hour around at his house. Great company.
Really, you invited him, just sort of just rock up and just sit there, knock on the door.
He plays a lot of golf now. He's got arm muscles. They're bigger than Pat Jennings' hands. They're incredible. But it's interesting. I don't think Alex knew anything about the move until the Monday, and he'd gone by the Friday. But club also didn't play him. Club didn't play him against whoever it was. Presumably, they got wind of what was happening, which is quite possible because Alex is on LinkedIn, and he's got his career on there, about where he's been and where he's going, and also on there is Dean Austin, who is shown as the recruitment consultant at Blackpool. So they may have been watching him for a bit longer than we may think.
Is he really? Oh,
yeah. Anyway, good luck to Alex, and also to his brother, whose name escapes me. I think it might be Will. Who was doing good things last year. He's only 17 years old at Sheffield United.
Never heard of him. Anyone know Sheffield United? No.
Jimmy Gray might know.
Very good. But we slated. We did slate the club, but we questioned the academy setup, didn't we, a few times? But getting 15 grand from it for a player.
You questioned the academy setup.
Hey, no. I'd say Dave did mostly. But it's good. It's exactly what we want, isn't it? And hopefully there's a few more coming along the lines.
Well, it's interesting, actually, because our academy came from Watford, where he started off, and he had 7 years at Arsenal till he was 16. I agree with you, Lee. 7 years at Arsenal till he was 16. Then had that little time with us and quickly got promoted into the first team and did a very good job. But what's happening with the academy? There's more promotion of their games this season, or the B team, which, if it's the same thing, heaven knows. Do you know what's happening during the summer, Jake? Any changes there?
No, I haven't really heard anything at all. It's been very quiet, hasn't it? I think last season, that was one of the issues of we didn't hear much about at all what was going on with the B team. So hopefully it's improved this season. But I think they've stepped up a division now, haven't they? I think they confirmed they were going to do that. But yeah, it's been very quiet around it. Seems to be going well. I mean, to be fair, the few flashes we saw, the kids that came on against Arsenal, etc., they looked decent. Morel, Johnson, they looked all right. So hopefully they're doing well. And I think they're at Clarence Park, aren't they, on Saturday? For anyone that isn't going to Cheshunt, I think they're playing Aldershot Town under 23. So I'm sure that'll be a tough game for them. But hopefully this improvement in division will be an improvement of quality for the lads and get some good experience for them, because you want to be playing them against the toughest opposition you can.
It's funny, some of the players who came through from last year playing the smaller cup ties, should we say, Aaron Austin, and who was the striker?
Sam Meeks.
Sam Meeks, yeah.
They both left the club, haven't they?
Yeah, it seems to be. I don't know if they're on loan or permanent or what, but Sam Meeks has gone to Hitchin, isn't it? He's gone there, and then has Aaron gone? Where's Aaron gone? Do you know, Dave? Was it Royston or somewhere like that? I think he's gone out there. So don't know what's happened with them, but I don't know if it's on loan, might just be the season, or might be on joint terms. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully they both do well. Might come back.
Joint terms, all these injuries, we'll have to get Big Dave back soon, won't we?
Big Dave!
To be fair to both of them, actually, I thought Aaron Austin had a decent game against Hemel, the 20 minutes he had. He actually looked all right. He was actually willing to run forward from midfield. And Sam Meeks didn't score any goals for the first team, really, but we used him almost as a fourth-choice striker. And again, you wonder, suddenly we're not scoring goals. Could we do with someone that just is, even if it's prolific at that level, just try and poke the ball in the net? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well. Wonder if we're seeing these academy lads Saturday, because on Saturday we're going across Hertfordshire to Theobald's Lane to face Cheshunt. Their first season at this level. They've really done well to get up there. 3 points so far from the opening 2 games. We're confident of win, aren't we?
Yes. Who are you asking? I think you have to be. I mean, the season is yet young, and okay, we've not been dazzled by any performances the Saints have handed out yet. But Cheshunt, as you say, Dave, uni promoted side, improved performance against Hungerford for us. So we've got to go in there, at least looking to get our first win. Surely, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we've got to be, haven't we? It's a tough game. I think it's Cheshunt's. Cheshunt? It's one of their first home games, isn't it, Dave? So
yeah, and had 1 at home, 2 away.
Yeah, so we know it's going to be. I mean, when they came down to our place in the trophy and beat us, they had some very good support that day, very vocal support. I'm sure it'll be similar on Saturday. It's going to be difficult, but as you say, I think we can take a lot of positives from that game against Hungerford, and we've got to use it as a springboard to kick on, haven't we? Because otherwise, we're never going to. Lots of positives. Try and keep the same formation, same team, same attacking intent, and we will surely score goals and potentially come away with 3 points.
Although Cheshunt lost those 2 away games, they did score in both of them. And the home game against Hampton, they were 2-0 down, they come back to win 3-2. So chances of us keeping a clean sheet are pretty remote. So we are going to have to find the target.
That's football. Yeah, I mean, shoot.
Yeah. That is. We've got. Ian said he was confident in the summer in the squad he's put together, and surely then they all step up. As Lee says, or as Lisa, his name on Zoom today, we've got to try and shoot. But we've got to try and create chances for Sean, and Sean's got to be on the end of them. He's 2-year contract, a lot of money. He's got to start turning them away. But if there's no service there, then it's no chance. So hopefully a couple of players will step up, and Saturday can prove to be a successful match. Hopefully.
Well, I hope Sean will actually start standing on his feet a bit more. To me, he's going down too easily, and the referees aren't buying it from him. Most of the other players they are, but from him, they're not. He's far more dangerous to opposition when he's standing up and running at them.
I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think the good thing about when he's doing that, he occupies a central defender or two or a wing back or whatever, and it gives space for other players to attack as well. And, that is why we implore Joe Neal or Mitchell Weiss, whoever's going to be up there with him, to show that same intent, go forward and not be afraid to shoot. Because if Sean's there and creates space for you, got to try and take it.
A couple of familiar faces coming up Saturday: Taylor Miles and Jacob Gardner-Smith.
What a duo, eh?
That could be their central midfield, couldn't it?
If you ask, mate, you don't bloody carry on.
I'm not sure if we have positive thoughts about either of them. Do we really? They weren't the most spectacular players.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. As opposed to what other world beaters we've got in there now, we've got to be very, very careful about who we throw under the bus this early in the season. But the midfield have got to get an absolute grip of themselves because they need to be running the show from minute one. And at the minute, they're not. And Dave, you touched upon Sean going down too easily there, mate. He's trying to buy himself some time because we do panic when things aren't going our way. We lump it up to him because they know he can hold up at the ball. But our midfield is so slow getting in to support him. He's got no other option than to just go down and try and win something to buy the side some time. But as I say, it's not a tactic that we like to see, but it's just the way the world of the football is going now, mate.
Cheshunt had Joe Reeves sent off in midweek. I don't know if suspension's coming straight away now. There's a 7-day delay. It's all
I think it's still 7 days, isn't it? I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so he will be playing Saturday.
But yeah, I think Lee's spot on to mention the midfield because I think that's probably where the battle will be won or lost on Saturday. You know, the last couple of games we've probably been edged out in midfield, and that's arguably why we only have 2 points. So I think it's important. I don't know if Minash is going to be fit and available. I think he'd be a massive boost to the midfield if he is. Otherwise, I'm not sure what Ian will do. Will he think about chucking Hugh Dawson in maybe for some extra legs in there? I don't know. I don't know what to do in there at the minute. But the midfielders that have been there, I think Kyron Wiltshire's been all right. But you know, it's been a struggle in there, hasn't it? And it doesn't feel like we've truly addressed the problems that we had last season, does it?
And all those injuries, it's going to be fascinating.
It's going to be difficult. And we know that Cheshunt are a very good team. They, to be honest, absolutely played us off the park in the trophy last season, didn't they? I think in a second half of the season with a lot of poor performances. I think that was one of the worst ones because we missed out on a lovely trip to Stockport. You know, Stockport might not be the most glamorous of places, but it would have been a good away day. Would have been fun.
Yeah, but we've done that, Jake.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. But you know that Cheshunt were league below us, and they saw us off 3-0. Could have been more. It was comfortable, wasn't it? You know, we've got to really step up on Saturday, and I suppose that's the only positive is Ian and the management team know what to expect from Cheshunt.
Well, didn't they do Chelmsford the round before? Do them 3-0 as well. So, they can hold their own at this level, no doubt about that. But they're not going to hold their own Saturday because obviously you two are going to make confident predictions.
2-1 City. Go on, you Saints. Yes.
2-0 Saints. I don't know why.
You both know what your record's been so far this year. We don't need to highlight it.
They're consistent, David. Consistent if nothing else, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. Dave, should we mention our old friends down at Weymouth? They seem to be the first club that are having financial issues of the season.
The Muff.
Yeah.
Down the Muff.
Yeah. Well, they're struggling on the edge at the minute, aren't they? Which is a shame to see. So I think, you know, hopefully good luck to them. Hopefully they pull through. But I think, you know, 3 games into the season, it's always a worry when there's one club already talking about that and talking about those issues. So hopefully that all works out okay there. But yeah, we've got to be confident going into Saturday, boys. We've got to be confident if nothing else, right?
Of course. We're not going there just to get a tan. We're going there to win.
Tan in this weather. Oh, dearie me.
I want to say a quick word to Ollie as well. Ollie from Luton, who people will know from selling raffle tickets. Last year, his first year, it's seen every single game. Not bad, reaching the second round of the FA Cup. That's not a bad way to start. His run came to an end last Saturday because he went to a wedding. God knows what he was thinking to do that. But there you go.
It wasn't his wedding. He was going to his friend's wedding. No, but still, I mean, I saw the photos. He looked very dashing. Ollie, you looked absolutely top draw there, mate. But don't worry. We'll see you down at Cheshunt on Saturday.
Yeah, fair play to him. You know, especially that second half of last season. I think there would have been a few games he was wondering, well, what am I doing here? So fair play, Ollie.
Welcome to the club, mate. Doesn't get any better.
Dear me. But on that positive note.
Let's all go to Cheshunt.
Yeah.
Oh,
see you both Saturday.
Excellent. Take care, fellas.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.